So I'm super excited because, as I have mentioned on social media for the past 2 weeks, I had a really great plan for my opening professional learning this year. And I do believe that the very core of instructional coaches being successful is all about sharing. And if I can share what I did with you and it gives you an idea, maybe an alteration of a task, if you want to like take it, strip it, play it out, absolutely do that. But I feel like if I can give you something and it can turn into something for you, then I've done what I need to do, which is share and expand this very experience of instructional coaching. So here's a little bit of background. Hopefully, you've been following me on Instagram or on my Facebook page. Both are going to be at Coaching with JV. And those two pages have shown a little bit of what I was doing. I really wanted to kick off the year with a beach ball theme. You know, it's end of summer. Let's embrace it. Let's talk about the reality of it. But my administrator and I also talked about the overall arching plan here, which was to review our instructional framework. And for some premise, we spent all year last year doing the instructional framework. Now, let me say that we were in a COVID years, everyone was, and we had to make a lot of adjustments. We worked in a block schedule last year to be able to coordinate our virtual and brick and mortar classes. And so we did some alterations to just make it work. And so this year we are back to what we call normal. But what we need to do now is kind of backtrack. What does that instructional framework look like? And I have a building. I'm so fortunate. My building is packed with incredible teachers, incredible, driven, focused, hardworking teachers. And so when we worked through the framework last year, I knew I was working with someone's multiple teachers across the building who were experts at what they did. They are just truly amazing. But we all know that being top notch in your field doesn't mean you don't have something to learn. So I said, how do I take this incredible group of teachers? Now, mind you, we did still get about 16 new staff, so that added a little level of expert thinking there. But how do I alter this? Because I don't want to do what I did last year. I don't want to review. I really want to set the course differently. So that's exactly what I did. This was called the Instructional Framework and Best Practices Reworked, and I called it 21-22 Redefined. And I do believe that that's going to be exactly where we are in the vision. So as we navigate, the first thing I want you to see is the instructional framework that I pulled. So this is a Georgia instructional framework. If you were in a different state, I hope you have a document that looks somewhat like this. If you're in an independent school of some sort, I'm sure you have some document that looks like this. It really goes over what is our framework for the state, and we've adopted that here in our school system. So what I did was I told them at the beginning, I challenged myself to work through the entire framework. Here's my lesson plan in the time frame that our connections teachers and literacy teachers will have, which will be 45 minutes. And that does not include transitions. So I said, I'm going to challenge myself. We're going to see how well I'll do. And I'm going to let you be that judge. And so as we navigated through, I talked to them about the time that I had. So what I was working with. So for instance, I was giving myself 9 minutes for our opening, which was a beach ball activity, which would pull from prior knowledge. We're going to talk about by the numbers and what our 21-22 approach would be. I let them know that the transition time would be an activity called Frames and Names. And then we would have up to 24 minutes for the actual activity. What do you need, as I called it? And then I had set a 9-minute best practices. I'll tell you right now, it worked itself in many different capacities, but I did not do that perfectly, which was exactly what I wanted to happen. I wanted my teachers to see that the best laid practices, especially when you begin this and you shift from a block schedule back to a 60 or 45-minute period, is going to be messy. And it's okay to go, really overplanned. What do I need to do tomorrow? Or wow, my first period, because I'm in secondary, my first period was, oh my gosh, hands-on, very just active. And then I had these more quiet second and third periods, which is kind of how it worked out in terms of my groups. I did it 4 times. But what I saw was I wanted them to see I have to do this and then kind of go, oh, whoa, I overplanned here completely. Or, hey, I really only needed 5 or 10 minutes here, but here I really needed my bang for my buck. And that might look different in first period than third. Again, you'll alter that for elementary. Of course, it'll be like a day 1, day 2. If you planned on day 1, you bumped up this massive plan and then you knew you didn't have enough time or you didn't plan enough. Well, then on day 2, you work that out. So whether you're secondary or elementary, doesn't matter, this activity works. So I got them scaled on that. The next thing I did was the by the numbers activity. What I did here was I started with welcome back old friend, because we talked about this all last year. I let them know that this year is all about a student-centered everything. It's going to be called the Student-Centered 21-22. Last year, we talked about the instructional framework in terms of numbers and minutes, and we also talked about teachers working through that. So I basically broke down for the 60-minute content teachers what that would look like, and the connections and literacy teachers what that would look like. And we talked about how flexibility is going to be our pal. And so then we worked into a beach ball activity. If you've not seen my Instagram reel, go look at it right now. You will love watching my teachers. They had a blast throwing that beach ball around. But every beach ball, I actually made a reel just about the beach balls, I do believe. So check all the reels that have to go with the activities as I was planning and prepping. I took the beach balls, I wrote what part of the framework was on top, and then on 3 of the rings of the beach ball, I wrote one question relating to either the opening, the work session, the transition, or the closing. They had 1 minute to move that ball around. And I did it just as I would want them to do in the classroom. You may throw it, you may roll it, you may hand it off, you may hot potato it, you may world is your oyster. You do whatever you want to do. Just make sure that beach ball is leaving your hands and getting to someone else's hands. At the end of, actually, I think I gave them 30 seconds. At the end of 30 seconds, have a ball. If you have a ball, great. If you don't have a ball, find someone who does. And you're going a question from that, and you're going to answer it. I told them I didn't want a dissertation. I want your gut answer. It's boom, read it. What do I feel? What do I think? Put it out there. And so that was meant to move fast and to activate prior knowledge. They loved it. It was fun. It was engaging. We all had a blast. It was wonderful. So then I went into what I call the 21-22 approach. Remember, this is still my opening. And so we talked through our year together and how the student-centered vision was going to go with learning targets, data vision, instruction, and planning. Talked about how we're going to focus all of our work this year from the PLC Plus book, and just kind of gave them the, here we are, here's where we're going. Just so you know, let's do it. So then I did what was called frames and names. This was an activity where I actually had frames. Also on my Instagram account, go look, Instagram or on my Facebook page, you can actually see the frames sitting on my table. Each frame had a student profile. It might be, I'm the student who was virtual all last year. I basically logged in, didn't do any work, and this has become my current learning practice. That's who I am. Or I am the student who mastered all the standards last year. I am motivated and ready to learn and be challenged. Or I am the student who is here, but life's happening and I am so focused on what's going on outside, I can't really focus on what's going on inside. So I made 8 student profiles and they were in frames. Everyone had to go find a frame, and I had a framework with the frame and framework. And they had to grab it and then form a group. My first group had like 38 people in it, and it was massive chaos, but still quite fun. I don't feel like I got as much bang for my buck because there were 38 people there. My last 3 sessions were much smaller. And because I only had between 8 to 12 people in those sessions, I really felt like we really got into it. So I do suggest, if you're able to plan this, that you plan it in smaller groups, because the bang for your buck in the smaller groups is so much more impactful. So they all got a frame, they all got a name, and they had 2 minutes. In that 2 minutes, they had to read the frame and they had to come up with their name. Had to have an adjective. So distracted Donnie, and an adjective and a name. So the rest of the time I was going to refer to them with that name. I was no longer calling them their name, only the name that they had given me. And I'll tell you, I learned that I couldn't remember all of them. So what I did second period was I wrote down the names from there on out so that I could remember and refer back to the names. And I told them they had to scrap everything they knew about best practices, everything they knew about good quality instruction and planning and teaching and learning, and they had to take that student on. I wasn't sure how this was going to go, but I will tell you, oh my goodness. We had Virtual Vicky. We had Mastery, was it Mastery Molly? We just had some incredible names. We had Life's Happening like Lily or something. Every one of them like came up with these great little names, and then they had to take that on. So from there, what I did, remember this was only 2 minutes. From there, what I did was I moved into the framework. And I said, okay, let's review the opening and let's go back to what students need. So as a student, you should be accessing prior knowledge. You should be doing some kind of note-taking strategy, maybe participating, of course, in what we're discussing. You should be analyzing what's happening and what you're thinking about it, and then asking thought-provoking questions. So this is what is asked of you, of course, in the language of the standards, in this case, in the language of the framework. And so I then went to each one. Virtual Vicky, what do you need from me as a teacher? And tell me, did I do it in the opening? So I referred back. Remember, the opening was when I started with the beach balls and the by the numbers and the PLC approach. Remember, that was the opening. What did you need from me? And so at first they were kind of like, and then they got into it. And then it was like, you know what? I've been virtual all year. And that beach ball activity was overwhelming. Like, I had to talk to people. I had to be around people. Like, it was too much because I've been virtual all year. And I was like, yes. And so we started to get teachers talking about things like my kiddos that were distracted. You know, I liked having the beach ball, but then you got into talking, and then like you walked away and you were over there. So like once you started talking, I tuned out. Like, the beach ball activity was the only thing that engaged me. And so the teachers started giving me this perspective from students. And it was funny because then I could go back, oh, well, wait, you mean this doesn't work for every student in the class because I planned a lesson with no differentiation and I'm doing the sage on the stage kind of teaching that doesn't work for all of you? Like, I don't understand where I went wrong. I've planned the instructional framework. It's perfect. It's perfect. Why don't you see? And so it got them laughing and talking and purposefully looking at it. And I did this with every single part of the framework. So I moved through the opening, the transition. I talked about how that worked. What did you need in the transition? When we were in the work session, what did you need? When we were in the closing, what did you need? And so what happened was I got such amazing conversation going. I had teachers who the profile was that it was a kinesthetic kid. They like to draw, create, move around the room, just touch, do. And they said to me, I had 2 different teachers say to me, the activity itself was great, but when I got that beach ball and it had higher level academic vocabulary written in the questions, I was out because I couldn't read very well and I couldn't write because I'm not strong in that area. I'm strong in this creative aspect. I'm strong working with my hands and creating and thinking and seeing, but I'm not a strong reader and I'm not a strong writer. So 2 different teachers brought that to my attention. Teachers were bringing to like I was having aha moments, the virtual teachers talking about just how the experience they'd had as virtual teachers and what they knew their virtual kids would feel walking in. It was unreal what my teachers were coming up with. And the aha moments, the light bulbs, the flickers of, oh yeah, you didn't check in. I had one of my 7th grade teachers, her student was that kid who basically, we've all had him, look, I don't want to do any work. And if I can keep knocking you off your game, you won't be able to get anybody else to do work. We've had that kid. And I laughed so hard because she was great. She played the role perfectly. She'd say something, I'd go over to her and she's like, gotcha, here you are again. You're not teaching. It was fabulous. And she would do it to me. She did it 3 times. And at the end, I was like, all right, stop. You're killing me. But she was playing that role of that student. And she acknowledged that if that student can suck you in, that they've moved you off your steady course and you're not working in the capacity you need to be teaching all students. But she played the role so well. It was amazing to see my teachers jump in and have a blast with this. We had so much laughter. I mean, laughter, laughter, laughter. I have teachers say, you didn't check in with me. You were moving around the room talking to the kids who wanted to engage, but you didn't check in with me. And I'm the kid who struggled with standards last year. I had I forgot my whiteboard erasers or my whiteboard markers. And so I asked one of my teachers, I said, can you run to my office and grab those? And one of my students in the back said, I really, I might be quiet, but I really need you to know that you can depend on me. You sent him because he's a little bit active and he can do it, but I need that too. You didn't see that in me because I was quiet. And it was a day of nonstop aha, oh my gosh moments. And the fact that we were engaging in that manner and we were able to have those kind of conversations was unbelievable. So what I hope is that you'll go to my Instagram channel at Coaching with JV, check out all my reels that led up to what I was creating, or my Facebook page at Coaching with JV. All of it's there. You can see how I created it, building up to this point. Additionally, if you come up with an alternate plan. So for instance, I was sharing this with one of the elementary coaches and she said, you know what, we haven't done all that pre-work, but what if I took that framework and had them pair it to their lesson plans and they went through and they were cross-checking their lesson plans to the framework? It'd still be an activity that they could see the framework in action as kind of like that pre-activity of what you did last year. And I was like, that's awesome. So just that one conversation with one of our elementary instructional coaches got her thinking about how she could take what I was going to do and alter it for the schools she supports. I would love to hear if you're doing this, if you alter it, if you come up with some version, if you don't use beach balls and you use something else. I would love to hear about it. So thank you so much for hanging in here for the full 16 minutes on hearing this. My hope is that I've inspired you to do something fun and engaging. I'll tell you, my teachers, I had several emails, several people that stopped me in the hallway that said, thank you for kicking off our year with something fun and something that made us think. And that's all that matters. So best wishes in your beginning of the year. If you haven't started yet, I go back tomorrow. First day of school is tomorrow for our kiddos. And I'm excited, but holy cow, here it is. So best of luck on your school year and let me know if you do something like this. I would love to hear about it. Bye.